Hey there, so today we have another review. This is courtesy of Sapporo. Thank you so much for sending this one out. This is Sapporo Premium Black, being brewed out of Vietnam as well, and a perfectly balanced blend of roasted dark malts, refined hop bitterness. This is a bold lager for an uncommonly smooth finish. Really fun. Yeah, Japan. They've sort of got inspiration from German Schwarzbier and their black lager. Czech Republic too, also had black lagers, which is quite fun. You know, having dark lagers is quite fun versus America is sort of the world of like amber-ish lagers, right? Man, the amount of questions I get. Amber, can I get amber, 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 amber? Literally, I would say, wow, 25 to 40% of my guests, just like first step. Not even a light beer, like, you know, not even a macro beer, just, well, obviously they're thinking in macro sense, but you name it amber, 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 amber. So weird. Anyway, a couple countries instead of amber and pale lager, or instead of amber, because there's always the pale lager and the other color, which is amber here, and then in other countries they have the pale and then the dark. So let's dig into the guy. It's a very pretty beer, actually. I like it. Comes in a really wonderful kind of like, it's dark brown. It's really not black. It's dark brown. In the light, you can sort of see a little bit of like garnet in the edges, deep, like brownish, a little bit of kind of this kind of like ruby hue, even on the light edges to it. And then the head has a really nice kind of light tan quality, a little bit darker than Guinness, I would argue. Yeah, probably a little bit darker, about probably in that range, but yeah, definitely darker. So that means there probably is a little bit more roasted malt in there. I think part of the process is like, you can add coloring to beer, and certainly people that make dark lagers do. But in order to get the head with a little bit of color, I think you actually have to use a certain amount of roasted malts, versus you can trick drinkers by having a really pale head. But it's a very pretty pale head in general, but anyway. Okay, so it has a nice creamy sweetness to it. That's so weird. First initial impression, I would guess is something like a milk stout or something, or maybe it's kind of like even almost like a nitro Guinness kind of thing. Like, it's like sweet and a little bit nutty. I get a little bit of like light peanut butter character, a roasted peanut, a little bit of chocolatiness. Like, wow, there's so much character for, again, I wouldn't have guessed this was a black lager. It's sweet, powdery, nutty. Nutty is a big one. It's got a light cocoa note. It smells really good, honestly. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. It's weird. Okay. Yeah, I'm about it. I really wish this country was like a black or dark lager country instead of an amber lager country. I'm not the biggest Guinness fan. This I love. Wow. One of the first beers that I really fell in love with was Kruševice Černý. It's a Czech beer. And if you're lucky enough, you can find it. I found it in New York, but Czech beer. Like that's your take on like Czech dark lager. And I reviewed some on the channel, but for some reason, I really like this one. Sapporo Black. I remember the last time I had this beer. It's so tasty. Oh, the amount of roast on this beer for a macro Sapporo produced lager is exceptional. It's honestly surprising. Wow, that's so weird. There's just this like echo of chocolate and nutty and just this like chocolate light roast coffee, like not blonde roast, but like just light roast, and it lingers and lingers and lingers. Wow. So I think this sits in the realm of international dark lager, but it's got so much character that I would guess that some people, including myself, would get messed up on this. Like, it tastes like Schwarzbier, but a little too roasty for Schwarzbier. So it probably tastes like Czech dark lager. Some people could maybe get mixed up with the milk stout because the bitterness is so restrained, pushing back on the hop bitterness, obviously, but also with milk stout, it's restrained sweetness, but sometimes there is that kind of sweet additional sweetness of lactose that helps like cover up the beer, and so you sort of like are blunting the roasty quality. Oh man, it's so tasty. So on the initial sip, especially like I argue you should pour this like a little heavy. So you build this really nice head. Like it almost comes off like nitro, and it's really fun. And you get that. That's what I want. I want the sip to have this like cappuccino foam kind of thing going on, and it's lovely. It just sits at a beautiful place of like moderate minus, kind of like roastiness, sweetness, toffee, nuttiness, and it has a light edge of roastiness, hop bitterness. Yeah, they talk about hop bitterness. There's characters to this beer, so there's like light hop, herbal bitterness. Yeah, I taste that on the back end, and that sort of mixes in with the roast qualities. But man, this honestly tastes like delicious craft beer. Like it doesn't taste like it's a macro Sapporo black lager, blah blah. Like, you know, this has so much more character than something like a Shiner Bock or whatever amber lagers out there. But even dark lagers, yeah. I mean, if you tell me, if you're a Guinness drinker, you do you, but this is me. Like for dark, light, delectable beer, sitting at what ABV are we at? We're at, geez, they don't even post this stuff. Yeah, it's produced in Vietnam, so who cares? This beer is probably sitting at around like 4, 5 at best. So, or 5.2 maybe, but this is so good. This is so good. Yeah, I'm drinking a ton of this. And it has so much of the milk stout character up front. You could easily have guessed this was milk stout, Schwarzbier, Czech dark lager. It has all those like really fun characteristics, but really it is an international dark lager. But it's so much more characterful. So that's really crazy. Like, yeah. It's just a really nice like cocoa, pretty tone in there. And for some reason, it's not nitro can, but it's creamy. There's a creaminess to this beer. And I guess it's actually the amount of residual sweetness on this beer. Because I pour the beer and you see the carb just like not quite like spritzing up. This beer actually has a little bit of sweetness behind it, which is actually really tasty. This is fantastic. I'm blown away. Next time I see this guy, I'm crushing some. This is so tasty. I mean, I could just, for dark beer, I could drink a ton of this guy. High utility, high tasty quality, high repeatability, high quality in general, but also high repeatability. Maybe not though. Let's go with a solid. Call me nuts, but this thing is really tasty. I'm going to give this guy 94 Sapporo Black. You guys tell me if I'm nuts. This is just a macro dark lager, but it is so tasty. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like speaking in tongues and like talking nonsense, but I'm just really liking this guy. Like, it just has so much utility for me right now. Like, it's refreshing, and when you look for the roast, it's there, but you don't have to find it. And otherwise, just a really tasty beer, and it doesn't have that kind of like acrid kind of like Guinness thing. Like, it has enough character in the mid palate to make it worth it. Versus Guinness is just like drinking like creamy water that's bitter, because there's that like metallic-y thing on the back end that the roasts and whatever they do to the beer makes it taste like that. Guinness is really, to me, like a really pale beer, which is that kind of roasty thing on the back end. Like, it doesn't have like the full qualities of like a beer that looks that dark. Versus here, it has that, but then also can hide it by being just a, you know, not fully characterful Czech dark lager or Schwarzbier. Well, Schwarzbier is actually a joke of beer too, because like it's actually not that like quote unquote dark as its flavor, or it's not as flavorful as the darkness tells you. So it plays in that realm. So it does all that kind of cool stuff. So 94, that's delicious. Sapporo Black, probably the most underrated beer of the year. Until next time, guys. Cheers.